the world who are very highly successful have that same success that they want and have in business, but also in their private love life and relationships. And I do
Love
that through
life.
programs and courses. Yes.
Definitely love life, people. So, Miss Chaya Garcia, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. And hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. The top 7 dating mistakes keeping you single. What inspired you to write this book?
So basically, when I was 26 years old, I was in a relationship that wasn't for my best. And I thought it was going to work out, but it didn't. And I came to a point where I thought, how do people choose a partner? And if you had a woman who, let's say, had an abusive father who was an alcoholic, how could she go into a room of 300 men and without even knowing any of them walk out of the room with that one man who's also going to be an alcoholic with rage just like her father did? I became obsessed with learning these subconscious belief patterns that attract the partners that we choose into our lives, because nobody wants to be hurt, but yet so many people are still making choices with relationships that hurt them. So when I learned and became obsessed with this idea that you can choose the right person, but it's by becoming that person first and learning how to love yourself first so you can understand and recognize healthy love, I changed my whole life and everyone I attracted to become a loving, healthy person and attract a sober, loving, healthy man. And I wrote about all the knowledge, the scientific proof, as well as my story to help other women attract and understand how to become and understand and see healthy behavior and a healthy man in their lives as well.
So, Miss Haya, how did you narrow it down to just 7 mistakes? Were there others you considered including?
Yeah, so the seven most common mistakes are an easy way to break down a lot of large concepts into smaller steps. So, for example, one of them is mistaking attention for love. A lot of people think that if they get attention from a man, that means that the man loves them. They think that it feels like love, but actually it's just attention. And a lot of times the attention is because the man doesn't have any intention of committing to that person. Rather, they want something that they can get from the woman, whether it's sex or intimacy or friendship or companionship or just not to be alone. They find someone who they'll give attention to, and the woman thinks, oh, this must be love, and then gives a lot back to him. But in reality, it was just an exchange. It was never a true commitment of love. So that's just an example of taking a large concept and putting it into one of the most common mistakes that women make so that you can have it more easily understood for you.
Beautifully articulated, Miss Haya. Very well said. So, can you briefly walk us through what the 7 biggest mistakes are?
Yeah, sure. So one of the most common mistakes, like I said, is understanding or thinking that attention is actually love. Another one of the most common mistakes is not prioritizing sobriety. So it's really, really important to remember that if somebody doesn't have the capacity to love themselves and to stay in reality, then it's going to be impossible for them to have the capacity to really love you and also stay in the reality and the hard times that you guys are going to have. Because the only way you can get through hard times is when you know how to process them and able to actually resolve them to move on in the future. If you don't know how to resolve the dark times, then eventually they just become bigger and bigger over time until the relationship gets a fracture and falls apart. So it's so important to remember that sobriety, if people smoke pot or watch porn or drink alcohol or are doing something like gambling or spending too much, like these are real issues that you don't want to overlook. Even smoking cigarettes is a real addiction. You don't want to overlook addiction and sobriety as something that you can handle or manage just because a lot of people do it. Also, a lot of people have bad relationships, and you want to be the one that has high standards and a healthy relationship. So that's just an example of two from the seven that is really important to remember. I hope that's an introduction to how that process goes.
Certainly, and thank you for sharing to us, Miss Haya. Which dating mistake do you think the most common today?
The most common dating mistake, I think, is letting time be the dictator. So, a lot of women think that if they spend enough time with somebody, they become attached to them, and that their identity falls into being with that other person. So they don't allow themselves to be themselves alone and then make a decision of, does this person match my identity and enhance my identity and enhance my values? They aren't clear enough with who they are and what their values are, like I wasn't clear enough with who I was with my values. So then, if you allow yourself to just be with somebody because you like each other and you have a good time, but time is the indicator of if you choose to be with them, because you develop yourself as being with this person. Like, oh, yeah, we're always together. Or I can't see myself with anyone else because we've been together, or we've been together for 4 years. So we might as well stay together. I already put in so much time. So we might as well keep going. But a lot of times, time, just because you wasted or spent a lot of time with someone doesn't mean that's the way to decide if you should continue to spend your life with this person. So it's important to have your identity and your value systems lined up before you make the decision of who to be with, as well as not let time be the dictator as to why you think you should continue that.
So, Miss Haya, are these mistakes different for men and women, or they apply to everyone?
They really apply to everyone. So, women and men are very similar in a lot of ways when it comes to love. We all want to be loved. We all want attention. We all don't want to be abandoned. We all don't want to be hurt. We all really want to feel safe and seen in a relationship. The ways that dating plays out for a healthy relationship is slightly different between men and women. Men really are the masculine energy. Even if they're a more feminine man, there still is masculine energy. All women and men have both masculine and feminine energy in them, but for the dating process to work, the man does to work in a healthy way, the man does need to be in his masculine energy where he pursues, and the woman does need to be in her feminine energy where she receives his energy and she feels like she's really wanted and he really made her feel secure and she was desired by him to actually commit. So in that process of dating, men and women are different, but the reality of what we want and what the common mistakes are very much the same. It's important to be clear on sobriety, spirituality, and values way before you choose your partner so that you don't let time or default be the indicating factor to stay with someone just because you love them, because love doesn't keep marriages together.
What's one dating mistake that people often don't even realize they're making?
They don't have a clear enough understanding of what causes divorce. So a lot of times people date with the hope that they will get committed to and they will get married. But what they are not thinking about is what causes divorce. So marriages don't last because of a lot of basic reasons. And until you're looking at those basic reasons, you have to go backwards. You have to think, what ruins a relationship? How do I avoid those while I'm choosing a partner? So you're going backwards in your vision. A lot of people go forwards in their vision. They go, oh, I'm just going to find someone that I like. I'm going to find someone that I'm attracted to, that we have a good time. And then we'll like move in together and it'll be great. We'll sleep together. And then if it works out, we'll get married and everything's going to be great. We've been together for so long, anyways. And then they realized down the road that the things that they needed, like sobriety, spirituality, the same values, the same faith, health, all of these things weren't there in the beginning. So then just because time happens, the marriage still falls apart. So one of the most common mistakes is that people go into it with just hoping things are going to work out and letting a default happen by who they marry. Like I will choose who I'm with by default of who shows up into my life. rather than by design. I want to design my life. So that means I have to go backwards. What's screwing up marriages? Okay. How do I avoid those things? How do I become the opposite of those character traits? How do I become sober and healthy and hear my feelings and not run away from reality and know how to communicate effectively and care about my faith and care about my heritage? And once you become that, then you can go into a marriage in a very, very different way because you're going backwards. You're knowing what's going to destroy it so that you plan in advance how to prevent it by becoming the things that destroy it, by becoming the things so that you don't destroy it. Did that make sense?
Makes sense. So,
Okay,
is
amazing.
fear of vulnerability one of the major themes behind these dating mistakes?
Yeah, a lot of people have fear of vulnerability just because a lot of people want to be seen as lovable, and they think that if they're lovable, that means they have to be happy and successful. But real love means that I love myself knowing that I'm successful with my flaws. I'm lovable with my flaws. I am human, and sadness and anger and unhappiness and negativity is part of positivity. It's part of processing. It's part of healing. So vulnerability is a really scary thing, but that's why I say that you need to become your own best friend before you date. Your identity needs to be strong within yourself before you date. Like I needed to learn how to love myself and understand my vulnerability and my darkness and my thoughts and be safe and comfortable with myself and my life before I can choose a partner. Because then you want vulnerability. Once you become vulnerable with yourself and you have a small group of friends who are real, honest, and vulnerable, vulnerability is magic. It's the real human connection that feels phenomenal to be connected with. So then once you learn how to love yourself, once I learned how to love myself, that is how you go into a relationship without the fear of vulnerability because that's exactly what you're now looking for.
So, Miss Haya, what mindset shift, or yes, mindset shift, do you encourage readers to adopt in order to avoid these mistakes?
Really, it's important to hear yourself talk. You need to hear the words that you're saying to yourself and the images that are in your mind on a regular basis. We think in words and in images. All the time, we are alive and thinking. And we're thinking in with an internal stream of consciousness in words and in images and pictures. And so you have to be really clear and have alone time with yourself where you're happy to be alone with yourself, where you don't want to distract yourself with your phone, where you don't want to be always in a relationship or with other people or with noise or at parties or working. Like you want that alone time so that you can see and hear what words you're using and are talking to yourself, especially when you make a mistake. And this way, then you can be like, oh, I'm really hard on myself, or I think I'm not enough, or doing enough, or have enough. And then you can replace that with, I am enough. I am doing enough. I have enough. I love myself. I forgive myself. I am worthy of only good. I don't allow people to hurt me. I am safe. And once you can replace your negativity with positivity, and because you're aware of your inner talk that is happening, you have a mindset shift that you don't need other people to love you. You need to love yourself. When I learned I don't need other men to love me, I love me, then I'm not going out into the world being like, "Are you gonna love me? Are you gonna love me? Are you gonna love me?" It's like, "I love me." Who's gonna match my already awesome love for myself and know how to love me? And I'll recognize that because I'm already in a state of loving myself in a really powerful way.
Certainly, totally agree, Messiah. Love yourself, people first. So, are there exercises or reflection prompt in the book to help readers work through their patterns?
Yes, great question. So, there are a lot of exercises in the book and prompts. A big way to get to know yourself is to start writing to yourself and journaling, because the same way that our internal stream of process happens with words and images, the same way to get to know yourself is by understanding your words and images. And the way you do that is through journal prompts and activities and to write yourself. What do I love about myself? What do I not love about myself? What do I believe about men? What do I believe about women? What do I believe about sex? What do I believe about money? What do I believe about marriage? What do I expect from a husband? What do I expect from myself? Is this a real expectation? Is this a healthy expectation? Am I hoping somebody saves me? Or am I already living a pretty epic life that another epic person's just going to want me because I'm already living in a state not of lack and need, but of health and sustainability? So, those are really great prompts to ask yourself, to start journaling, to really get to know yourself. I really took many, many, many hours and years doing journaling prompts to really understand my belief systems, not what's quick that I would tell you and conscious, but what's unconscious. What do I really believe about women, men, marriage, intimacy, money, God? And once I was able to see my limiting beliefs, I was then able to replace them with much better beliefs that helped me attract a much healthier relationship.
Certainly. So, Miss Hyatt, how do you recommend readers to stay optimistic about dating while working on improving themselves?
Amazing question. So, when you're really aligned for the women, he will come to you. You need to know that you're not in control of time. Time and space is in God's realm. We can't I can't tell you exactly when he's going to show up. If you're a woman and if you're a man, can't tell you when she's going to show up. But what I can tell you is that no matter what, people are going to come into your life, and they come into your life not based on what you want, but based on who you are. So don't worry about the when, because you will meet people by default of time elapsing, but worry about the how. What are you doing? How are you loving yourself? How are you showing up every day? Because even when you're in a relationship, even in a healthy relationship, you still need to work on yourself every day and learn how to reinforce loving and healthy communication with yourself, with God, with your partner. So it's not like you find the right one and then you have to stop working on yourself. It's not like you go to the gym, lose 10 pounds, and then can eat anything you want. You have to continue a lifestyle of health, of working out, of exercise, of getting refresh oxygen in your body. So that's the same thing with self love. So while you're on the journey of finding the right one, remember that's just a milestone. The journey of loving yourself is before and after you meet your healthy partner, but you can only attract your healthy partner if you yourself are healthy. So remember that it's a lifestyle shift where you're not going to want to feel lovable based on what you do, but genuinely for who you are daily.
Certainly. Very well said, Miss Hyatt. Very well said.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. If a reader only has time to focus on fixing one mistake, which one should they start with?
Hearing the words that they say to themselves. A lot of times when we make a mistake, there's a reaction. So focus on the reactions to mistakes as a starting point. When you make a mistake, when you say the wrong thing, when you make a mistake at work, when you trip over something, whatever, we all make mistakes all the time. We hurt somebody feeling by accident. We hurt somebody's feeling on purpose, whatever it is. Hopefully, it was by accident. You have to ask yourself, what did I just say to myself? Did I call myself an idiot, a bitch, a horrible person? How could I have done that? What's wrong with me? I'm so annoying. Oh my gosh. Or were you like, it's okay. You're still learning. You're a human. You've got this. We all make mistakes. Downs are part of the ups. I'm alive. If I was perfect, I'd be an angel, but I'm not. I'm a human. I'm always going to make mistakes. I love learning. I love life's lessons. I'm going to forgive myself. I was probably just in pain or really tired or really hungry. Anyone who's really hungry or really tired probably wouldn't do the right thing. I can learn from this and move on so that I don't make the same mistakes again. I'm going to have a long life, God willing. So I'll have a lot more opportunities to choose better in the future. But for now, I'm going to love myself, learn the lesson, and continue with grace on.
Certainly. Let it go, people. Let it go. So, how do attachment style or past relationship experiences play into these common mistakes?
Can you say the question again? How does past relationships play into can you say the
To this
question again?
common, how do attachment styles or past relationship experiences play into these common mistakes?
Great question. So, really, past relationships maybe make us feel like we are unworthy of love, or like this is all we can get, or like we're damaged goods, or like if we, were hurt before, we'll be hurt again. But it's so important to not let your past predict your future. Just because you dated a bunch of assholes or not good people before doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Just because you were hurt before in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Just because you did something wrong in the past doesn't mean you're going to do wrong again in the future. So it's really important to have your past relationships be powerful diamonds that you shine and you polish, and you ask yourself, why did God give me this relationship? What about me attracted this relationship? My past relationships were always addicts, people who couldn't hurt me actively, only passively. But that was the same thing I was doing with myself. I wasn't actively hurting myself with drugs or cutting myself. I wasn't actively I was passively hurting myself with negative self-talk, with, beating myself up in my head when I make a mistake, with not being proud of myself, with being too hard on myself, not processing anger. So he was hurting himself, my past relationships, he was hurting himself actively with drugs, but passively me, right? Because I was just being neglected. He wasn't hurting me, he was neglecting me. That is also hurt, it's also abuse, but it was passive, the same way I was hurting myself. So we really need to understand, like, what did I learn from that? Who was I that I attracted that? Because the more you get to know yourself by looking at your past behavior and how you attracted things, the better you can understand yourself, where your limiting beliefs are, where you need to nurture yourself more so that you change your patterns to actually love yourself enough to attract the right healthy relationship in the future instead of repeating it by accident again.
Again, beautifully articulated, Miss Haya. Very well said. Do you believe that cultural expectations and pressures fuel these dating mistakes?
Yes, 100%. A lot of people think like they need to get married at a certain age. I think that for women, there's a reality to that. Women, if you want to have babies, there really is a time constraint. Women really do need to only have a certain window where they can get pregnant. So social constraints are a little different than biological constraints, but at the same time, they come into play. I think the most important thing to realize is that you need to be true to yourself and your faith and your heritage and your culture. One of the most common causes of relationships not working out is the friction of spiritual growth, of their souls connecting. Because as you age, you see it all the time. As people age, they get more spiritual. As you age, you get more closer to God. As you age, you care more about where you came from. Nobody is like studying their family tree when they're 17. Like they don't care. When you're like
For
47
sure.
or 57, you're like, "Oh, where did I come from? Oh, my great grandmother? Like that's crazy, you know?"
Yes.
So, your faith, your heritage, it really, really matters. And a lot of times when you're choosing a partner, you're just like, "Oh, I love them. I respect them. We support each other." But then you're not aligned, then you're not unified in your spiritual growth as you age. And so instead of somebody climbing the mountain with you, they just drove you to the mountain and were like, I support you climbing the mountain. I respect you climbing the mountain. But they're not climbing the mountain with you. So as you're ascending the journey, they're like, I love you and support you. But if they're not of the same faith, you essentially spiritually grow alone and it stunts your spiritual growth because you don't have the right partner to actually do it with you and grow with you. So then there's always different practices and conversations that take you away from actually doing your spiritual faith that you would have had if you would have had that same faithful partner who is inspired by the same things you're inspired by.
Certainly, totally agree with you, Miss Raya. So before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my audiobooks, people. Audiobooks. One of them are my, of course, my book 101 review, volume 3 suggestions, my book 101 review, volume 2 selected, book 101 review, volume 1 highly recommended. These are the product of my first season of book 101 review. And of course, my self-help book, Life is Too Short, a journey of discovery, fulfillment, and joy. Stand tall, stand together, breaking the chains of bullying. And my climate change book, Earth Fever, the unraveling climate, and I restore to restore a razor balance. So please do listen to them. Available on Amazon or Audible, and they're one of the best sellers. So, Miss Haya, to sum up our discussion, are you planning to write a follow-up book, perhaps about top ways to build a healthy relationship once you found someone?
Yes, 100%. I have a lot of books coming. This book is a really powerful book for women to understand first, or men understand first, how to love themselves and how to have and attract a healthy partner. And there's a lot more books coming. My social media is Epic Love Expert. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook at Epic Love Expert, because I really know that you deserve an epic love, not just an love, but an epic one. Um, so, yes, I have a lot of programs and courses. I have a challenge coming up. I hope you guys join that challenge. I have a mastermind group that we meet with once a week. That's a powerful community to help you get really integrated and understanding at a deep level how to love yourself and attract healthy people. So, yeah, definitely contact me, book a call. I'd love to set you up with one of our programs or courses to really help you get that true healthy relationship you very much deserve.
Yes, indeed, we want an epic love, not a love. So, Miss Haya Garcia, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. So, can you please invite your listeners or our listeners to support all your projects to come?
Thank you so much. Yes. So please follow me on my socials, Epic Love Expert. You can join my mastermind at epiclovemastermind.com. We have Epic Love Challenge, which is an amazing challenge coming up where you get 5 days of integration to really get these step-by-step process on how to love yourself, how to feel connected with yourself, and how to know the signs of somebody who is healthy or unhealthy when you meet somebody. So I highly would love to have you in my community. Please reach out to me. Let's book a call and let's get your life started, because you really deserve to breathe easy in love and have someone love you unconditionally.
Certainly, people. Let's support Miss Haya Garcia, because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books to come. So, Miss Haya Garcia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. You're
More
welcome.
to come, more to come, people. See you soon.